So I am joined by my very good friend, Thomas Felix Crichton, also known as Fleming Never Dies, and your wonderful, wonderful YouTube channel and your podcast. You're all about British culture. And I love speaking to you because you look at British culture through the same lens as I do, which is somebody who spent half their life not living in Britain, but are quintessentially British.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here once again.
Well, thank you. Well, I wanted to reach out to you as like the eyes on the ground, the roving reporter, the man who was there. There was a huge event going on. Yeah. Was it last week with yes. So what I was super stoked to look at all the pictures, and you could see all the people I'm familiar with, like Michael Poplawski and David Zaritsky and you and Fletcher Sykes, and I could just list them off. It was like a who's who of people in the Bond community. But what is it? What happened? What went on?
Okay. So I'll start with the middle. The central point of all of this was that we had our magic tickets. So these are tickets to see the Cue the Music concert. So they do a range of Bond covers, especially the themes, which are quite thumping, and then all the dramatic bits of the music. And so they were putting on a concert spectacular. That's why all of us were getting together. It's almost like an excuse to meet, but it was a phenomenal event. So that's really the cornerstone of this whole Bond weekend. I was here in London.
Well, I'm aware of Cue the Music. My two questions are, first of all, I thought they'd broken up or split up or stopped performing or something. And secondly, this wasn't just like a concert in your local village hall or something. This is the O2 Millennium Dome, the one that Pierce Brosnan bounced off of in The World Is Not Enough.
Absolutely. Yes, they had announced last year that they were stopping what they were doing. They'd done all the tours they wanted to do. They didn't want to wait till it started declining. They wanted to stop while the going was good. And there was just this huge movement asking them, please come back. Please put on something big, something, well, spectacular. And this was it. As you say, this is the Millennium Dome. They're at the Indigo at the O2s. There's multiple concert halls. So this is one of the halls. Fun fact. Whilst they were performing James Bond stuff, Madonna was at one of the other stadiums in the O2 performing, and we were all wondering, would she just pop over for a bit and do Die Another Day?
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
I think that would have been great. However, she didn't do that. But as I say, the O2 is a phenomenal venue, and the Indigo was fantastic. Like, I've never even been to the Millennium Dome before, so that was a treat to go in and to see it for the first time. But their concert, I can see why it was such an outcry when they thought they were stopping, but people wouldn't let them. Their fans would not let them.
Well, quick aside with Madonna, obviously the plus side would have been seeing Madonna. The downside would have been you'd have had to listen to Die Another Day.
You see, I don't mind it so much. I'm okay. But then I think somebody pointed out to me recently that all my favorite Bond films tend to be the ones where there's no song. Like From Russia with Love doesn't have a song at the beginning in the title credits. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, just orchestral. I do like that, but I do enjoy the songs a bit.
The Indigo. So I mean, this was a big event, and how well attended was it? I mean, were there,
it was packed. So as people were coming in, I did take a picture, but it just didn't do it justice. It was a packed arena, and on multi-levels the way it's designed. So I was in the balcony looking down. There's a significant balcony looking down, as some theatres and concerts have it with multi-level. So it was a huge number of people, most of whom very well dressed.
Well, I can imagine that. That's one of the things that is typical of the Bond community. But I mean, the Indigo Theatre, that's like a 3,000 person auditorium, isn't it? So
yeah, I couldn't swear to the numbers. All I could say, it was bigly big.
Isn't that wonderful? Like, I know Cue the Music, some bloke started it 4 years ago, and now they're playing to packed out O2 arenas.
Yeah. I think there's been like a little group that's been going even longer with just I think Warren is the guy who runs it. But it was a spectacular. I mean, with pyrotechnics and all that kind of thing, and not just the ones.
So you say this was the filling of the sandwich, though. So tell me about everything else that went on alongside.
Another part of it is you named at the beginning some of the people who were there. Kyle Barbeau, Easy Smiles, Expensive Watches. These people I've been following on, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, for years, literally years. And they've been following me. And they actually came up to me and said, "You're Thomas, aren't you?" And I like the episode you did on give specifics, and I was able to talk to them. I like that post you did about whatever. It was kind of surreal, all of us meeting, because all of us follow each other, but we hadn't met. So you mentioned it was some of the people you know on the east coast of America. A lot of them were coming over, but there's plenty of people here in the UK. I met some people who are based here in Yorkshire. Never met them before.
But they knew you.
Yes, and I knew many of them,
Yeah.
and it was phenomenal to all meet in person. Yeah.
I love the fact that, like, you know, people I know, I like just last month I was hanging out with Kyle and David and stuff like that at Gatherall, and then there they are in London with people I know, like you.
I mean, it's almost easier to say who wasn't there. So, you know, next time you need to come, because we all noticed. And Donnie Waldron at Quantum of History needs to come, because we all noticed him.
Oh, well, I'd pack him in a suitcase and bring him, but it would have to be a bloody big suitcase. It's like huge. Yes. He's a big fella.
Yes, I didn't realize that until I saw a picture of him with other people. It's quite easy to find him, isn't he?
Yes. So tell me, so what happened with you with this whole thing? You packed up from Yorkshire and just decided to come down. When did you come down? What else did you get up to?
Well,
Burlington Arcade was featured.
So I was messaged some time ago by a man called Daniel Gaster, who on Instagram is known as Daniel Gaster, and writes articles from Tailors of Love. But we were introduced to each other by Pete Brooker, who runs that blog, podcast, and everything. But he just messaged me and said, you know what would be really good is we're going to the place in The World Is Not Enough. Wouldn't it be great if on the day we started at the SIS building, where the boat chase started, and we kind of went along and we took in some of those sites and went along. So we're messaging back and forth for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we just really planned out, like, what is the boat route? What do you see? What's significant? So I did a podcast on that, which, well, you contributed to. Thank you very much.
And that is out right now, isn't it? I'll pop a link
that's out. Yeah.
Below.
I made sure that came out like the week before the concerts, that people flying in could listen on the flight, because that's what I do with my podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts on a flight. I don't like watching films on a flight. So that was there in advance, but it was also there because Daniel and I met opposite the SIS building at 12 o'clock on the day, like noon. And we'd send that out like on the internet, so anyone who wanted to could join us. If they couldn't join us, they've got the podcast and they can follow that route themselves. You know, it's all laid out. We've done the research. No need. But lots of people did. It was, I think, between 15 and 20 people. And again, everybody kind of giving each other these looks of, I've seen you on the internet. You're real.
Isn't that wonderful, though?
Yeah. And I was really taken aback. There's a gentleman on Instagram I really didn't know that well personally, called Commander Bond 007. And he's a graphic designer. And he'd done a graphic of Daniel and I in the Q-boat, and he'd actually made these little poker chips.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? He's the man behind. So I think the Bond's apartment and David Zaritsky, and they all have his art as like the thing. It's so iconic.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think Dave Zaritsky's new intro, his animated intro, I think was done by this fella. He'd done a graphic of me before, which I was very, very surprised at, because I think I first saw of it on the Bond Experience channel, where he had a mug of some people on it. I mean, I could see it was taken from a photograph of me. But he produced these chips. Albion Is Not Enough poker chips, so we could give these out to people, and it was his gift. I was genuinely surprised at his generosity. And because we were going on this route, he said, "Oh, I've been watching The World Is Not Enough," and then you know that bit where Zukovsky writes a check for $1 million.
Yes.
Yeah, apparently he does in like a really nice, fancy checkbook that's just for him. And the guy said, so I watched it and I thought, I wonder if I could make that, and promptly produced these checks for $1 million.
Oh, isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So they've got the Robbie Coltrane portrait there, and the casino client check. So yeah, I've now got it's a blank check. I've got a blank check from a Russian oligarch. Well, every day you get that.
Careful, you're going to get sanctioned.
Oh, yes, I'd better not say it too loudly. Oh, no, we're on tape. It was wonderful. I'd say very generous of this gentleman. And then Daniel and I had just really organised, basically sending out a beacon. We are here. You can come and join us opposite the SIS building. Everyone meeting and greeting. Exactly. The horn of Gondor calls for aid. And then walk along the Thames to Westminster, right? You know it's not far.
Yeah, and you've got like the big door with the key that Pierce Brosnan went down to meet the forgotten station for forgotten agents.
Exactly. Yes. All
And then
abandoned.
you have the Lazenby light lamppost as well.
Yep. Just a few hundred yards away. So great little occasion. But we were all milling around socializing. We thought of kind of walking along to some of the other locations, but time waits for no man. So we hopped on an Uber boat, which I think is the best thing about London.
So you got to do a boat chase, kind of.
Oh yes, from Westminster direct to the O2.
Exactly like in the movie.
Exactly. I loved it because I've always said that's the one thing London really lacks, because Hong Kong has the Star ferries, Istanbul has its like double-decker ferries going all throughout, and you can take that same route Connery takes on from Russia with Love, with Daniela Bianchi. So it's fantastic to have these cities. He's the one where he's got the camera and he's like, talk to the camera, not to me, and all that stuff. Yeah, so you can do that same route. It's still there, still running. So I've always thought it's weird that London doesn't utilize the river a bit more. And no Uber boats. It's about a fiver to go up and down from Westminster to O2, which I think is really good for London prices.
That's amazing for London prices.
Yeah.
And I mean, London is basically designed to be transversable by the Thames. So
exactly. So the reason I'm uncertain is because I took the tube quite a lot that day, and the Uber boats goes through Transport for London. So the deduction I had, I think, was £7 the whole day, using the tube quite a lot and using the Uber boat. So
that's amazing. And so there you turned up at the O2 Arena.
Yeah. And then we went along to a party where there's one gentleman who's an odd job lookalike, very, very on point. I think you may have seen a few photos from him.
I did, yes.
Somebody took pictures of me with him. I don't know who has them. I haven't seen them, but anyway, somebody has them. Also, one gentleman dressed as Blofeld, and a couple of girls.
I saw him.
Oh right, yeah. So again, I've got photos with him, but not with my camera. So I don't know who's got pictures of me with all these Bond villains. And then some girls in very tight, very gold, sparkly gymnast outfits, onesies. I don't know how to body
saw
suits.
them as well. Yes.
They were there for a hot second and then disappeared. And I was assuming that they'd be like, come on partway through the show. They didn't. And I was assuming they'd be there for all throughout photo opportunities. They didn't. So I don't know if it was like, were they Madonna's dancers who just like popped by? Were they, I don't know. I don't know where they came from. I don't know where they went.
It's funny because I remember seeing the pictures of them because they were quite striking in their outfits. They look like the Golden Girls from Goldfinger.
Yes. They had quite a queue for photos, and I thought, I'll see them later. Never did. Oh.
I find that experience.
Secret mission.
I'm familiar with that experience with many pretty ladies.
Yes. So yes. So we're both married. But it was a really nice event. It was very, very social.
And then the concert you said was terrific.
Terrific. Yes. So I had actually been to a James Bond concert for the first time a couple of months ago by a different orchestra. So I've been to a group of people who are the Opera of the North Orchestra. Opera of the North do opera. It's in the name. Their orchestra performed here in Yorkshire, and it was clearly the people on the Opera North mailing list, right? So these are people who are very musically educated. The pieces they played were the light, Wine with Stacey, and if it was themes, then it was probably like Moonraker. It was lovely. Because that's the one thing I've always kind of criticized about like Bond CDs that come out and compilations. They focus very heavily on like the pop themes.
Yeah.
Every film has a huge amount of orchestral music. Like I am a Star Wars fan. If I talk about Star Wars music with anyone, there's the theme, right, which is the same 1 minute at the beginning of almost every film. But even then, I can generally listen to the theme, and it very quickly goes into a unique piece. So if you went to a Star Wars concert, it's a huge, huge variety of music. So a Bond CD, like just being the pop music, has always been a bit of a downer for me, to be honest. It's not my favorite music. So that was
motivational music. I have like Ray's theme from.
There we go.
Because that's nice and upbeat. And the Bond theme, like A View to a Kill, whatever you think of the movie, it's like some of the music in that is just terrific.
Absolutely. And I believe Duran Duran have been doing a tour recently, I think in the US and I think in the UK maybe as well. But yeah, it's pumping stuff. So as I said, went to that concert, was great. And I really wasn't sure what is cue the music. And the answer was that as light and as interesting as Opera of the North was, cue the music was foot thumpingly good. It was rarely energetic. I don't know, the whole thing, the energy of it, because the concert's, it's a few hours. It's about a 3-hour occasion. The energy level throughout was phenomenal, and it was the pop themed. And obviously, you know, we've all heard renditions of Goldfinger.
Yes, of varying degrees of quality.
Exactly. It's very hard to do Shirley Bassey better than Shirley Bassey. But whoever they have as the vocalist for Cue the Music, she was phenomenal. It was the best rendition of Shirley Bassey I've heard, except Shirley Bassey herself. And it was very, very good. Again, Lulu, hard to compete, but she did Lulu's pieces brilliantly. And the gentleman was really good as well. But obviously, there tend to be a few more female pieces
Yeah.
than there are male.
And it's funny, what a good prominence of Welshmen in the themes with Tom Jones and Shirley Bassey. They're both from Wales, aren't they?
We did have some Thunderball as well, yes.
Oh, very good. And I believe Mr. Zaritsky was the MC. I saw the pictures of him in like tiny thing. He looked like Frank Sinatra with his grey hair. You know, when Frank Sinatra was in his statesman years.
And as Dave Zaritsky is obviously at ease and in control on YouTube, and at ease and totally himself on podcast, on stage, exactly the same. He was a great host, very, very good. As we got special guest Magda from Octopussy.
Oh yes, I saw you. I think I saw a picture of you with her.
Oh, I don't know if I got a picture with her, but anyway, I've met her for sure.
Yeah,
and the knife throwing twins from Octopussy.
Oh yes, with the red waistcoat. No, the red shirts and the black waistcoats.
That's right. That's right. And yes, they are twins in real life. However, interestingly, in the interview, it kind of came out that although they're twins, they're not particularly twinny twins. They're very different. They're not identical. You know, they're extremely different in real life. And it's only when they got into acting that they realized this was a bit of a USP. So they had to start learning how to act as twins, or as twins are perceived to. Yes, so the whole identical thing is actually a bit of an act, and they are incredibly different when you see them in real life. They've been made up to look similar, and they've been given wigs with the curly hair.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was great to see them on stage, and also, as I say, we've got music. We have a brief interlude with an interview. Music, interlude with an interview. It was nice to see Martine Beswick, who was one of the fighting gypsy girls in From Russia with Love, and played a secret agent in Thunderball.
Oh, isn't that amazing? And it's funny. It's like I can't remember her name, but the lady who played Magda. I mean, she looks gorgeous still.
Yes, and she had some special, special jewelry. So she had like the egg on her necklace.
Oh yes.
So yeah, it was beautifully put together.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? And what were the? Okay, so tell me about some of the outfits, of course, because I've seen you were wearing your white dinner jacket. Is that right?
Oh, at an event before, because everyone, again, Dave Zaritsky kind of sent up a flare and said, I'll be at this casino at this time, which I didn't know the UK had casinos like this. Where did he find this thing? Apart from some private clubs, but there are casinos here. Not exactly on the Las Vegas or Macau scale, but a nice little place. But a nice roof terrace. So yeah, the day before we'd actually all met up. So I bought 2 dinner jackets. So I wore the white one on that night, and I wore the midnight blue one the next day.
And of course, you looked dashing as always. It's you've always got the real. You look like to me the literary James Bond. I know Carl Barbeau has the little shin dimple, which also makes him look. It's funny how all so meant. Yeah, and so what happened after the concert? Did you all just disappear off home? Were there more?
There was a post party, which I think there were plenty of vodka martini, shaken not stirs going around. And again, it was very much a community event. So wonderful as it was that there were stars and there were those gravitating to them, but there was also just the community. And it was just great to share stories with people who, again, you see them online. It's just great to connect with them as people. I think we couldn't all resist the temptation to have a quick photo with each other, but this was one where I don't think it was so much about the photos. It was genuinely about, who are you? What is your game? What do you actually do in real life? You know, it was more of that. It was the intense curiosity about each other.
I think it's amazing. It's like but 2019, I think, was when I first became aware of like the Bond community, and then within the space of a few years, it's become a real thing.
Yeah, and it's been great, and I think everyone I've met through it has been. I see people who are attracted to Bond tend to be attracted to the gentlemanly aspects of Bond.
Yes.
What my wife notices, So you could be attracted to any action hero. There's plenty of spy stories out there, but if you like Bond, you probably like the fact that he's well educated, well put together, quite decent in the way he deals with people, most people.
And I think that shows itself in the community. It's like I honestly found like I'd found my tribe when I started to hang out with Bond fans, because it's like, oh, look, people who are into wearing nice clothes and driving interesting cars and going to fun places and being gentlemen.
Yeah, and I'll quote Matt Spacer, as I have before, which, if you wanted to be James Bond, then you can be an alcoholic and a chain smoker, and you go gamble your life savings away and so on, and that's fits Bond. But most people are attracted to like the really good bits. Like most people are attracted to being the best they can be, based upon. Oh, okay. My faults are entirely my own, but I do like this idea of having a roadmap to greatness.
Yes, well, I mean, it's like, if you're a guy and you want to learn how to dress decently, it's like, look, just watch the Daniel Craig Bond movies, and that's pretty much the starter course.
Yeah, and for me, suits for Brosnan and then casual clothes for Craig. I think that would be my combo. But a lot of those outfits are timeless because they're classic. So Quantum of Solace, I mean, it came out quite a while ago. If you look at films, for example, released that year and based a male wardrobe on other films that year, it would be a dead giveaway. You'd know, that's really quite old hat now. But yeah, in Quantum of Solace, it's just something timeless about it.
I will say it looks like a dress by Next Directory a bit to me, but you're right. It's like you could wear that now and it wouldn't look particularly dated. Which is Roger Moore with his as much as I love them, his safari jackets and that beautiful tuxedo he wore in The Spy Who Loved Me, the double-breasted tuxedo with the flared pants. It's like, oh, I would love to look stupid wearing that in modern day.
They are great. Yeah, for the most part, it's timeless. I mean, there's whole blogs and books devoted. Oh, books devoted.
Yes, one of the 6 double-signed copies that exist in the world.
Yes, more men have. I think less men have double-signed copies than have been on the moon. More men have been on the moon than have double-signed copies of this. Yeah, whichever way it is.
And so, you being the dirty stop-out that you are, you didn't get back to Bradford until Thursday. So, were you up to other Bond shenanigans while you were down there, or was that just?
That was mainly me on my own jam, but I did get to pop along to some other Bond locations. Hammersmith Bridge is a clear favourite for a lot of fans. It's just a cool meeting place. I mean, it's wonderful because in No Time to Die, that was kind of, I think Craig was injured that day or not well or something, so they quickly put in this scene. For me, it's actually one of the best scenes in the film, and it's a great place to go along and just hang out. Really nice pub close by. They do the English pub classics very well, and it's just a cool place to hang out, and especially if you're happening past a newsstand and they might have some.
Oh, look at that! How Bond was born.
So this is for the new Shakespeare biography.
Have you grabbed a copy yet?
I have not. I'm waiting on some other. I'm actually just still reading the what is it? The John Pearson.
Yes, that's it.
Very interesting. I think that will be hard to beat, to be honest.
It's always interesting because the facts are the same, aren't they? So how can you make them interesting or spin them in a different way? But you don't want to spin it.
That's why I absolutely love the Ben McIntyre biography, because it actually combines that. Obviously, there's the pop culture, there's the literary Bond, there's Fleming's own life, and I think the way that he combines it and deals with those threads, is brilliant. That's really been my go-to more than any other biography of Fleming. Really like Ben McIntyre, so as a writer.
That's good. Well, we'll have to get together to discuss the Nicholas Shakespeare biography at some point. So tell me when you're finished with that one.
I mean, I said it not publicly, but Shakespeare as a writer, there is a tough name to contend with. Now,
absolutely,
it could be non-determinism, but equally, no matter how good you are as a writer, there's always a danger of everyone making the same joke.
Yes, I'm sure. I don't know. But then again, it's like you say your name Shakespeare and everyone's going to, I remember that. Or
yeah. And they'll be like, oh, you should be a writer with a name like that.
It's like,
but it does remind me of was it Winston Churchill, the second one, who went into politics. And I think the Times was just waiting to write the headline, Winston Churchill, only the name is the same.
Right. Well, I think we've wrapped up talking about the event, but it sounds like it was amazing.
Yeah, as I say, Cue the Music was really the center of the whole event. But then you had, for example, I did a walking tour with Daniel Gaster. I know there's a midnight tour organized by some other fellas. There was, the meetup at the casino. There's a whole range of events all throughout that weekend. But with Cue the Music at the real center, like I've often said, the one thing that James Bond fans lack, which Star Wars fans always have, is conventions. Right, so Star Wars
Yes.
fans, there's always a get together, there's always an event. And not that I've been to many actually, because the countries I lived in, but I always see them happening. I've been to one now. But it doesn't take much to throw together a Star Wars convention because we know what to do. We know how this works. It's been done before. We'll do it again. And that's one thing I think Bond has rarely lacked. And there hasn't been an official event, I think, for something like 20, 30 years. But these Cue the Music things are brilliant. And I'm thoroughly sold.
Oh,
And did you know that next year they're coming to Yorkshire?
really? Oh, are they going
A
on
few
tour?
people have been messaging me. Yes, they are coming to the most, James Bond gets the most beautiful, glamorous places in the world. So it was only a matter of time before he came to Bradford.
Oh, so you sent me that wonderful video the other day of the Conservative minister
Oh.
or something saying, like, yeah, why would is there anybody who wants to get to Bradford faster?
yes, but public infrastructure improvements. Who here is from Bradford? Would you want to get to Bradford faster?
I find it's hysterical.
He owns it, and he is a local MP.
I think you can only say that if you get away. You can only get away with it if you're local.
Absolutely.
Well, what is next for you on the agenda? What other projects do you have planned? Because you always have good stuff going on.
Oh, I do. I mean, on the podcast at the moment, again with Daniel Gaster, I'm utilizing him to the max. He has outed himself as a Whovian.
Oh, yes, I saw the picture of him bursting through the doors of the TARDIS.
Yep. So he was invited on set, like, I think before massive social media age, right? But he was on set having pictures taken because, of course, it's the 60th anniversary in November.
And I mean, I have to admit, I kind of given up on Doctor Who. I went halfway through the Jodie Whittaker ones, and then I was just like, no.
And they have now changed writers.
Oh, that's good. I mean, I'm genuinely excited to see David Tennant come back.
Yep. So
even if it's only for a couple of episodes.
Russell T Davies is coming back. The writer who really helped bring back Doctor Who in the early 2000s. So it's the 60th anniversary, so why wouldn't you go all out? They're re-releasing old content. They are producing blogs. They're producing radio shows. They are producing new TV shows. It's a big anniversary year, so the BBC is owning it. And so because there's just so much stuff for Doctor Who, basically I put together for my podcast like a reader, an entry level. Like if you don't know where to start here with me, because I've got the basic level. Because I think in the US it's not very well known around the world. Yeah.
I remember once, this is years ago, the agency I worked at, you lost internet. So it's like, what are we going to do? And someone had an episode of Doctor Who on their little laptop. So we all watched it. It was that one, Let's Kill Hitler or something like that.
All right, yeah.
And my friend who was there, she started watching it with me and she was like, what the hell is going on? There's a woman and she turned into another woman and then they're back in time and they're trying to kill Hitler. And it was like, you just have to go with it.
Yeah,
it's gonna. I have to explain 50 years or something of stuff to you to be able to understand this.
So I've got 3 podcast episodes coming out. One is out already. The other 2 are coming, and it's simply what is the old Doctor Who, what is the kind of middle-aged Doctor Who, and what's the new Doctor Who. Have a jelly, baby.
Yes, I mean, I used to buy the VHS cassettes of the Tom Baker episodes. And I used to watch them, and that was my jam. I loved it.
So this last episode ended with Tom Baker, I think, and the next episode will slightly start with it going into slightly more modern. But I think the first time I realized it's not Universal, I was watching the Lego movie. And you remember in The Phantom Zone, it's got all the worst evil people from history.
And it had the Daleks, yes. And what do they call them? Something like British pepper pots or something? Or
it's like Ask Your British Nerd Friends. I'm like, whoa. Who doesn't know who Daleks are? But there we go. It's really interesting. And I actually had a London Comic Con a little while ago when I hung out with a bunch of old Bond girls. but I met Sylvester McCoy.
Who was after Mr. Baker, Tom Baker. It's like I remember watching it live, and it was Sylvester McCoy, who I thought was terrific with his Scottish accent and his
brilliant, isn't he? Yeah, and you know, an interesting thing. I know you've talked about it. I think wokeness and things in the media. He had an absolute rule, which is that he doesn't fire a gun. Okay, I think it's happened, but he doesn't fire a gun, he doesn't directly do these things. He talks his way out of a situation or something like that. And they wrote an episode where basically he's supposed to fire a bazooka.
Yes.
And he argued against them and said, no, give it to the girl. The girl can fire the bazooka. So it's Ace who fires the bazooka. He gets a long speech. He said the writers punished him by writing the longest speech they thought they could get away with and make him memorize it.
I loved Ace as a character.
She is good. Sarah Jane, I think, has the title of top, and even got her own series. So
I know. I was so sad when she passed away.
Yeah, a part of all our childhoods.
Absolutely,
although,
that was.
Although I'm always fascinated by Doctor Who having K9, the robot.
Yes,
dog.
I love K9. We were always robbed of K9.
Yeah. So we have R2D2 comes along, and suddenly we have K9 in Doctor Who. We have the Q dog robot in A View to a Kill. It's like started a whole new era of like robotic pets.
Do you remember Buck Rogers in the 21st? Yeah, and they had that. Didn't they have a robot there with little ears?
I think in one of the reboots, yeah, they did. The really old Flash Gordons are amazing.
Yeah. So, well, we might have to get together and chat about Doctor Who sometime as well, because that's definitely a formative part of
well, I'm very much I am the filthy casual here. I've been introduced now to Doctor Who properly, the old stories that I vaguely remember seeing on TV, but now I've had a proper education on them, and I'm a bit more excited for the 60th anniversary. So, yeah,
absolutely. And I think we're both filthy casuals because we're married. You can't, there are some things to be a real Whovian you have to sacrifice.
Oh yes.
I don't have time for dating. I've got like 14 years of black and white episodes to watch.
I say it as a jolly fun fact. I realize this is not a fun fact as such, but it is a fact, and it is interesting that the first episode of Doctor Who was repeated. I learned this from Doctor Who. I learned this from Gaster. First episode had to be repeated because it was broadcast at the end of November 1963. You might know the date, living in America so long. It was repeated because it was the night that Kennedy was assassinated.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Well, I don't remember it, but I remember.
Yes, it's an interesting fact.
I also found it remarkable that they lost so many episodes because they recorded them on video and then they recorded over them, and it's like there were three episodes just got discovered from like the library of a former Rhodesian TV station. It's like amazing how these people just copied over them. They had no idea that 60 years later there would be like this cult following.
Isn't it remarkable? I mean, it's been pushed in my direction a few times because I do love The Man with the Golden Gun. And there's like a slight error where you can see a camera reflected in a mirror or something at one point. And I'm like, nobody in 1974 was sitting back thinking, at some point in the future, people get a high definition version of this film that they'll be able to watch on the big television screen and pause and go like one frame on and the next frame on and be able to spot this.
It's incredible.
So
anyway,
that's why we have to do our best with this video call.
Absolutely. Well, now it'll be preserved.
Generations to come. We never know.
Well, you think about that, sometimes when you get famous, people will go through all your old stuff and see whether you can be cancelled for anything. I think you're fairly safe. You're a very inoffensive person.
I think so. Shall we talk politics, international affairs, and religion this time, or in the next?
Oh, no, what am I talking about? You can be cancelled for the Margaret Thatcher book right away. There we go.
Oh, yes, but realise why she's here for a Bond chat.
Well, of course, she kind of had a starring role in a John Gardner book and For Your Eyes Only.
Exactly, the only British Prime Minister to appear in a James Bond film. So that's why she's there.
And I remember it was one of the John Gardner books when he was getting completely hokey. It was like James Bond had to rescue him, and I think Ronald Reagan and someone else. And it was like I was reading it, going like, "Oh well, this is quite fun."
Well, yes, I must admit. I read Fleming, and I think I tried a few of the continuation novels. I really, really could not get into anyone else writing the character, especially those who were kind of modern writers setting them back in the day. That doesn't work for me. But then I came very recently across Raymond Benson.
Yes.
I am sold on Raymond Benson. Absolutely. I very much enjoyed his books, and I'm so delighted that one of them has been re-released, 0 - 10.
Which is the one we've discussed.
Yeah, I was very, very happy. So I think that's the one that I
Yeah.
will allow.
Well, we should wrap this up. It is a delight speaking to you, Thomas.
And you.
And yeah, well, we'll have to. Yeah, we'll come back for. I don't know. We'll send a list of topics, but it's always a pleasure speaking to you, and hopefully people listening to this. I'll tell you what. If anyone's listening to this and you actually like this, give us a like. One like, and we'll do it again. I'm Roland Hume. I've sold 67,000 copies of my books. If you want to find out how I did it, I've got a link right here you can click. And otherwise, don't forget to subscribe. I've got more videos coming soon. Thank you.